Bonjour, dear friends. So exciting to be together on one of the last day of the month of May. We've had so much fun all the month of April and May, and we kept some amazing secrets for you. And very importantly, some incredible, two fabulous, charismatic, and extraordinary people to be part today of our wonderful experience, which will be really Northern California focused with a great international flair. So thank you for joining us. Many of you are already here. I'm so excited. And I'm really thrilled because today we're really going to talk food and as well, one of the most unusual and amazing mushroom of all time, the one we adore, or the one we venerate, which is the truffle. So we're going to have two phenomenal people. Ken Frank, one of the greatest chefs of America, French trained. Very fortunately, his French is fabulous. So we could even speak French today together, as we have many times. Trained in France, he opened the first Michael in Santa Monica and came to Napa Valley and became the most unbelievable chef of Napa Valley by recently as well opening his incredible restaurant in Le Toc. When I say recently, it's been many years now, and he was awarded, of course, a very well-deserved Michelin star. So you'll see, not only he's charming, he's phenomenal and extremely talented, and we're going to see him in his kitchen, which makes it even more special here at Le Toc at the Westin in Napa Valley. So he's really, really been one of the foundation of the great chefs of Napa Valley, and we're so thrilled. He's going to be here in a few seconds. And then another unbelievable man who just celebrated his 10-year anniversary as a great company. Can you believe he's created the American Truffle Company? And you'll see Robert is one of those amazing brains that has so many degrees from Stanford all the way to electrical engineering, was in high tech, and said, why shall I stay there? I might as well go with food and restaurants. And he's been an investor in a variety of restaurants, created the fantastic American Truffle Company. So please, dear friends, as I open this unbelievable bottle of wine that we created together with those two fabulous individuals, welcome Robert and welcome Ken. Let's open our bubbles. I know you're both ready and thirsty.
Indeed.
I gotta aim correctly too. Bonjour, dear friends.
Bonjour, Jean-Charles.
Cheers, cheers, cheers to the both of you. And for everybody to know, we are tasting a Raymond wine that we together created with Ken and Robert for the famous 10-year anniversary of the Truffle Festival, no later than in January. Ken was leading the kitchen with an amazing group of chefs. And obviously, Robert provided all the phenomenal seminars for 3 days and the truffle for this miraculous lunch we've had. So this is a Blanc de Blanc to honor two Napa Valley phenomenal people. Ken, cheers.
Cheers.
And Robert, cheers.
Cheers.
So Ken, you're in your kitchen. And
Yes.
you were just telling us you're about to reopen. So maybe you want to start there and tell us a little bit about the great news.
So we've been closed for 10 weeks now. And we brought staff back, the front of the house staff back yesterday. We started cleaning and training. There's all sorts of new procedures we've got to do to stay safe in this new post-COVID era. But just to have staff back in the building is so exciting because restaurants are about people. And to have the restaurant empty of people, I mean, we kept ourselves busy cooking for the South Napa Homeless Shelter, which gave us purpose, and that was really, really rewarding to do.
Yeah.
But restaurants are about people, and to have people back in the building and to have the family back in the building, getting ready to go next week, feels really good. Feels really good.
Well, I love to see you with such a smile. And Ken is always, for everybody to know, very active in all the local community charities, and he's always on the front line to do all kinds of things for people who need it. So I know you were very active over the last 10 weeks, right?
But, you know, we've been feeding 75, 80 people a hot lunch at the shelter 5 days a week. And what's really remarkable is we've managed to do it without spending any money. Well, we spent a little bit of money, but really not very much. We've been using food that was donated from food bank, food that was donated by a friend with a seafood business in Alaska, food from a couple of Napa Valley wineries that have culinary gardens that are friends of mine that brought me the produce they can't use right now because they don't have visitors. We've been getting food on Saturday from the farmer's market at the end of the market. And on Tuesdays, I've been shopping at the farmer's market with money that people donate to the shelter. So we've been serving 75, 80 meals 5 days a week for 9 weeks now. We have spent cash right around $1,000 just to buy the few things that we didn't get them. And we've been cooking with things that we don't usually cook with. And it's been, you know, it's been an interesting piece of creative work because we see what we got and then we figure out what we're going to do. And it's not the ingredients we're used to, and we're really looking forward to that. And this piece of foie that I have here for this afternoon has me just drooling. But, you know, it's been really interesting, and it really highlights overall that we have enough food in this country. We throw away enough food to feed everybody that needs to eat. And we need to figure out more ways to get that food to people.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations. A big toast and congratulations to you, Ken. And so exciting to see you because it has been weeks. And now, Robert, so we got to have to explain to our friends. We have one of the most awarded chefs in America who, by the way, is the only one allowed to the Truffle Festival in Italy as an American chef. So that's a big deal. Michelin awarded. And we have a overly graduated electrical engineer with so many degrees from Stanford that has a brain that could have obviously lifted off the rocket this afternoon in Florida, and is with us today dealing with truffle. So both of you, explain what you have in common. And maybe, Robert, you want to start.
Well, I think I know Ken to be a man of many talents, but I think one thing that Ken and I have in common is the love and passion for truffles. And you know, I happened upon truffles. Gosh, it's been about 15 years ago now, and it was love at first bite, and I've never looked back since. And I know that Ken is probably the top American chef with the most experience with truffles, and as you mentioned, he is so far the first and the only American chef.
I love it.
for the Italians at the Truffle Festival in Alba. So I think yeah, Ken and I share this great passion for truffle.
And how did you connect to create this amazing truffle festival together that is becoming such a must-do in the United States and specifically hosted here in Napa?
Well, I think you know, I've been to a number of truffle events, both in the U.S. and internationally, and it just struck me that with the focus of wine and incredible food, it's a mecca for food and wine in the U.S. that we ought to have the best truffle festival here in the U.S. at Napa, and that's how I got together with Ken, because I knew that Ken not only is very, very talented, but is also very experienced with truffles and has been cooking for truffles for over 35 years. So that's from sort of from my side, how we
No, that's amazing. And Ken, tell us what fascinates you, because I've been fortunate to know you for many years now. What fascinates you with truffle, with that really phenomenal mushroom? Tell us.
So I've been cooking with truffles for 44, 45 years now. It's been a while.
Well, you started at 6 years old in the kitchen. We know that.
We don't need to do the math. That's unimportant. What's really always amazed me about truffles is there's something about truffles that the perfume of truffle reaches into your soul and connects in a way that very few foods do. Maybe it's because it's a sex hormone for pheromone from pigs that makes wild pigs dig up truffles because it makes them hot and bothered. But there is something about the scent of truffle that is very primal. There's something about the scent of truffle and the flavor of truffle that burrows into your brain and just connects in a way that very few foods do. I live to eat. I love food. I love all kinds of food. But there's no other single food that connects on the same level that truffle does. There's something very magical about the perfume of a fresh truffle is simply irresistible. And it has long fascinated me since the first time I tasted it. The things you can do with truffle that you can't recreate it, you can't fake it. Truffle oil is close, but truffle oil is awful because it's close, but it's not the real thing. But when you get the real thing, there's something just magical about truffles. It just makes you feel satisfied and happy and good. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple, but it's a truly magical ingredient.
And you have them on the menu at La Toque for what, 9 months out of the year, because you source it from all around the planet, right?
Well, indeed, for the last few years, now that the Australians have really cracked the code and they're growing black winter truffles during their winter, which is of course our summer, we get 2 truffle seasons.
Really?
Previously, we had a black truffle season that started around Christmas and went well into February, maybe March. But now we get 2 seasons. Because about 17, 18 years ago, the Australians started growing black truffle with DNA from Europe, with European savvy, and in a place that had never grown any kind of truffle before. And what they've managed to do is really incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
Some of the very best truffles we ever see now come from Australia, not necessarily France and Italy. The Italians and the Frenchmen don't like to hear that, but
No, we
but,
tend to be protective about.
But at the same time, they should be very, very proud that someone else has managed to take something that previously was really unique to France and Italy and replicated it elsewhere at the very highest level because they crave it so. And so next week, I'll get my first fresh black Austin truffles. They'll be on the menu Friday night when we reopen, both in our truffle sandwich and on one of the pastas. And it's a really exciting time for us.
So would that go well with this Blanc de Blanc from Napa Valley, from Raymond, that we kind of created together?
Well, both of the dishes I mentioned, in fact, would, because the truffle sandwich we do as an aperitif. And of course, if you're going to celebrate with a truffle sandwich, you might as well celebrate with Bubbles, because Bubbles is about celebrating. But the pasta that we have penciled in for the menu next week is a very simple one. It's tagliatelle with egg, butter, and fresh black truffle. So we store truffles with eggs in a tightly sealed container, raw eggs in the shell, and the eggs absorb this amazing amount of truffle perfume. The perfume goes right through the pores in the eggshell, and it's attracted to the protein and the fat in the egg yolk. And the amount of truffle flavor that goes through the shell into the yolk is absolutely remarkable.
We starving.
48 hours makes the yolk taste like a truffle. So we just toss these noodles in a little butter, the egg yolk, and some truffle. It's very simple. It's great with either Chardonnay or sparkling wine, and certainly since we're celebrating today, sparkling is going to be the wine of the day.
So this is fascinating. So Robert, I think it's important to now explain, can source in Australia, in Italy, obviously in France, most likely as well China and other places. Robert, you created a very unique company. You moved from electrical engineering and the world of high tech, where you were extremely successful. And I think it's a great story and a segue, as a lot of our listeners, specifically right now, we always rethink what are our priorities, what do we do, what should our life be? Tell us in a quick way this background and how you created the American Truffle Company and what it does today, because many people with a background, a great backyard, can actually plant the appropriate tree to potentially harvest truffle.
Yes, Jean-Charles, you're too kind. Thank you very much. When you get me started talking about truffles, I become so passionate and animated because while as you mentioned, I started out in the high tech industry and I worked for a number of very large companies and enjoyed the time that I was there. But when I tasted my first truffles in an Italian trattoria in the middle of Munich, when I was living in Germany for a couple of years, there was no going back. And coming back to the US, I thought to myself, hey, this stuff is really addictive and it's really expensive. And so I put my my business hat on and I wondered, can you grow this stuff? And so because of my engineering training, I was very focused on finding someone with the real science to be able to cultivate truffles. Now, truffles have been growing in Europe for millennia and more recently in Australia. But elsewhere in the world, there have been many attempts at growing truffles, but by and large, not successful. So I was looking for someone with a real science, and I looked. The only person in the world that I could find that had real science. A lot of people claim to be able to grow truffles, but the only person that I found with real science was a young PhD by the name of Dr. Paul Thomas. And at the time, I reached out to him. He lived in the UK, and he still does. And I met him in London over a 1 hour meeting turned into a 4 hour meeting. And
I hope you met him over truffle, great Italian restaurant in London.
and that was the beginning. He asked me to become his partner to start and run the North American operation, where we would share our scientific know-how. That's
amazing.
For growing truffles with folks who want to use their lands and grow truffles. And so since then, the American Truffle Company has grown quite significantly, and we're very fortunate to have been able to work with incredible chefs like Ken and others in North America and Europe, and I think why I really enjoy what I do is that this is my passion. I follow my passion, and the science components is just incredibly fascinating. We're continuing to push the scientific envelope. The business aspect of it, to be able to work with a variety of people who want to grow truffles, and of course the ability to work with with world's top culinary talents like Ken and other Michelin.
Right. That's the amazing part.
Amazing part. And also, of course, to be able to work with cute truffle dogs. What other job would you be able to have all four of these incredibly exciting things?
Well, that's amazing, Robert, and congratulations. I've had the pleasure to meet, of course, Dr. Paul, and what an inspirational man as well. And I think for the people listening, I think Ken will tell you his passion as well, and from France to the US and why he became a chef. And then I know you're going to show us a great recipe, Ken, today. But this is fascinating, Robert. Big career, electrical engineering, and you move into starting a truffle company. I mean, for anyone who is questioning sometimes
he's almost crazy enough to be in the restaurant business.
And he invested in a lot of restaurants as well, right? But that's so cool, right? Ken, what about you? How did you start? Because you lived in France for a while, of course. And
so, I've always liked to eat. I've loved food and cooking and eating since I was a very small child. My parents tell me that my first word out of my mouth was cook, which was short for cookie. But cooking wasn't originally something that I thought I would pursue as a career because I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and in the 1960s and 70s, cooking in the U.S. was not regarded as a particularly respectable or ambitious career. I went to a really good school, and all my friends were going to great colleges and getting lawyers and doctors and entrepreneurs. And my dad was a teacher. I grew up with two teachers, and my dad taught at a very prestigious private school, and he won a grant in 1972 to move the family abroad for a year. And we moved to France. We lived in a small village on the south side of Lake Geneva in France, in Haute-Savoie, called Ypres. It's a village, at the time, there were 307 inhabitants, and for the year 1972, my family added 7, making it 314. It's a 16th century medieval walled village. It's a protected national monument. I went to French public school for what would be my 10th grade year in high school.
Wow.
And I ate the most fabulous food in the school cafeteria every day. It was prepared.
Are you serious? In the school
cafeteria?
Serious.
Well, this is the way it is. So I got on the bus with like 8 kids from my village, and we went through 6 more villages to the larger town, which was around 1,000 people, 20 minutes away. And at lunch every day, we would eat family style in 2 shifts. We would eat family style at tables of 10, food that was prepared by 3 ladies from that larger village. So we ate delicious home-cooked French country cooking. And it was the best food I had ever eaten.
So that made you say, that's what I'm going to do.
It was amazing. And at the end of the year, it's like, my family's getting ready to return home. It's like, no, I can't leave. Yes, I had a French girlfriend, and she was awesome, and I didn't want to leave her either. But my parents said, if you find a family to live with and you get a job, you can spend the summer. So same day, I found my best friend's mom said, sure, no problem. I got a job commitment as a dishwasher at one of the hotels in the village. And I got to stay for the summer between what would be my 10th and 11th grade years in high school and work in a local restaurant as a dishwasher. I started washing dishes. And after 6 weeks, because I out-hustled everybody, they gave me the opportunity I had 2 choices to make. I could either go into the dining room essentially as a busboy and learn how to clear tables, or I could go into the kitchen and become the chef's personal slave. It was a very easy decision to make.
Yeah.
Kitchen was absolutely where I wanted to be because I had to learn how to make this food so I didn't come home to starve to death on American hamburgers. And I came back during my 11th grade year in high school. I got a job on the weekends in Southern California flipping hamburgers at a local ski resort up on the Angeles Crest Highway called Mount Waterman, where my nickname was Frenchie. And I
but of course,
for lunch Saturday and 500 more on Sunday, and saved the money to go back to France the next summer. And I cooked in the same hotel again.
Did you still have a girlfriend, by the way, or?
she's still very
You
good.
know where your emotions were.
No. She broke up with me before I stayed the first summer. Broke up with me as soon as I said I was staying. But we've remained good friends forever, and she's super cool. Went back to Prince the next summer, booked the hotel again, came back from my senior year in high school. I got a job working in a restaurant after school because if you work in a restaurant, you make money. If you have money, you can buy a car. If you buy a car, you're cool. And so I figured, working in a restaurant is what's going to put me through college. I went to UC Irvine. I enrolled in pre-med and got a job at the best restaurant in Newport Beach, working in the kitchen. And after 3 months, it's like, I hate school. I hate these kids that want to be rich doctors. I love science. I don't like this program. I love cooking. I'm going to be a chef. And I took a leave of absence from UC Irvine that I'm still on today, and moved back to Los Angeles and got a job working in a very famous restaurant in downtown Los Angeles called Corino's, which for a few decades had been the very best restaurant in all of Los Angeles. And from there, I went from one restaurant to the next, and I did a very untraditional in America, but very traditional in France, series of stages where I'd work for 5 or 6 months in one restaurant and then another one. And by the time I was 21, I got my first job as the head chef in a restaurant in LA called La Guillotine.
Yeah.
La Guillotine was a sensation. From then on,
kept your head, which is great.
It's okay if you're a chef. You don't have to go back to school. You're good at this. It's okay. And I've never looked back.
That's amazing. So, Ken, obviously, one of your incredible talent, and I recommend everybody to go to La Toque, the quintessential French cuisine with obviously a great American flair and touch. What do you have for us? Because we are in your kitchen, and I know many friends here are texting me saying, are we going to see Ken in action? So maybe it's a good time as we introduce the Chardonnay. We'll talk in a second. We're going to ask Robert to give us 3 words to describe the Raymond Chardonnay, maybe, which is the next wine we're having, obviously. This is the heart of Napa Valley. We are really the essence of great Chardonnay making by Stephanie Putnam, which will go hopefully very well with that dish you're gonna propose. So Ken, what do you have in mind?
So this morning from the farmer's market, I got some stone fruit. I have some white nectarine and some apricot, and I'm going to sear a piece of foie gras with nectarine and the apricot, and I think it's going to be delicious. I haven't had foie gras in weeks, and I'm really looking forward to it. I wish I could share it with you, but I guess I'm going to have to eat the whole piece myself.
Well, we are all jealous, but I did not know foie gras was allowed in the restaurant anymore, but I'm glad it is again.
Part of California has a very stupid foie gras law. And the legal side of it is not yet settled, and I do believe that in the long run, they'll come to their senses and it will be down to a matter of choice. And if people choose to eat foie gras, they'll eat foie gras, and if they choose not to, they won't, because I really think the personal choice needs to rule the day. But the law in California attempts to make it illegal to sell foie gras.
Crazy.
Doesn't make it illegal to possess it. You can buy it in Nevada and drive into California, and the highway patrol isn't going to stop you. They don't care.
That's where we actually cheat. We go to Nevada to get it.
Yeah.
And
so since I'm not selling it today, it's perfectly legal for me, in spite of the animal rights wackos that are going to drive them crazy. But it's perfectly legal for me to sear and enjoy a piece of delicious foie gras with your wine today.
And I love it, because in the chat, we have our wonderful mayor, John Dunbar, who is listening to you, of course. And he says, we want foie, we want foie, we want foie. But of course, John. So
I've made foie for John before, and I look forward to serving it to him again. And of course, people in the other 49 states aren't faced with the stupidity that we're facing in California. So if you're in the other 49 states, it's not such a big deal. But in California, when you get a chance to eat some delicious foie, it's something to celebrate. And so
you're going to show us how you
sip of the JCB here, and then I'm going to sear some foie.
Of course, absolutely. And we Meanwhile, maybe we get Robert, who is so precise with his word. So the beauty is we can look at both of you and watch the fabulous chef prepare. So you're gonna have to tip a little bit, maybe your.
So I'm going to be the cameraman and the chef at the same time. It may get a little herky-jerky. Sit tight. Put your
That's
seatbelt.
okay. We're watching and
I'll try
interrupt
to
us.
smooth, but I'm going to move the iPad and we'll try and get the foie and the stone fruit cooking while it's cooking, and I'll put it back here.
Fantastic.
It's
So,
fun.
Robert, give us, this is a juicy, obviously powerful Napa Valley Chardonnay, but I'm going to let you describe it in 3 words before I ask you another question, Robert, as we could see Chef preparing. This is so exciting.
Well, Jean-Charles, I've come to love the wines that you produce. Every bottle of wine that I've had that you have served has just been impressive. But for this one, I'm a relative wine novice. But for me, I have to say this the word refreshing really comes to mind.
Yep. Thank you.
On a hot summer day, a chilled glass of Chardonnay from Raymond, incredibly refreshing, and the other word that comes to mind is very fruity, and I love fruity wines, whether it's white or red. I love the fruitiness of this wine.
Well, thank you for that. So, as chef, don't hesitate to interrupt us anytime to show us any of our guests in the process.
Take a look over my shoulder where we're going here.
We're looking.
There we are.
Beautiful apples, right?
So no, that's a white nectarine and some apricot.
Good.
And a piece of foie that I have searing on the plancha. Cooked it about 30, 40 seconds on the first side. I'm going to cook it 30, 40 seconds on the second side. And then let it rest. And then I'm going to tell you how delicious it is.
Wow. We love it. So at the meantime, I think it's a great time for Robert to tell us a little bit about the American Truffle Festival. Besides the company you've started, so people can call you and basically bring the right trees after your soil analysis to hopefully eventually get truffles. Tell us about the Truffle Festival, because I feel the world should come to this, as I've attended it since we met, I believe, 10 years ago. And we were the first one to do this amazing event at the Crystal Cellar, where we had our first Chardonnay of Raymond together. You've been going for 10 years now, doing this phenomenal gathering. So describe us and tell us a little bit about why people should come.
Yes, Jean-Charles, the original motivation for creating the Napa Truffle Festival was that I wanted us to have the premier truffle festival in the United States here in Napa, and there are several unique.
And in January, correct, Robert?
It is in January. It's
as
always,
people are asking, this is really key. It's in January, which is a perfect time to come and the perfect time to enjoy the best truffle from the world.
That's right, and it's always held over the long weekend, the Martin Luther King weekend in January, and I think Napa has several things that are unique for it that make the Napa Truffle Festival one of a kind. First and foremost, of course, Napa is the mecca for food and wine in North America. And so every year we have the incredible honor to work with 2 premier Napa Valley wineries to host the winery truffle lunch. Yep. And I was very, very impressed again by this past year being at Raymond for the second time. And
to see Ken Frank as the leader, bringing so many great chefs as well that each prepared a meal. But Robert, just go quickly. Many friends here are interested into kind of the seminars you do and
Sure.
what you all share as a learning for people on truffles.
That's right. So so we have two different tracks. The first track has more to do with folks who are interested in growing truffles. That's more of the technical scientific track.
Yep.
Then the other track is for foodies. This is probably the most over the top foodie experience that one can experience involving truffles. We have, for example, every year we invite 3 guest chefs. Most are Michelin rated or Master Chef caliber, and we invite them from around the country and even from Europe, and to come and showcase the best of truffle cuisine. So the 2 winery truffle lunches each has one of these guest chefs.
Yep.
The signature dinner, the Truffles and Wine dinner, is held at Ken's restaurant at La Toque in the West End.
Sure.
And that is really over the top. Usually when you go to a Michelin star restaurant, it's already a pretty big deal. But we've taken that to another level, where typically we have 4 or 5 Michelin star chefs, each doing a course using truffles paired with the best wines like Raymond, and even with desserts that incorporates truffles.
Well,
So truffles in every.
Well, and thank you so much, Robert, for that. As I look at the comment, besides Ken Frank being a rock star and everybody loving him, which obviously you have a big fan club, Ken, and we cannot wait to see what you've prepared. Robert, congratulations for doing it, because no one has never done in Northern America anything of that level and stature. So I want to make sure, as people are ready to come back again to Napa Valley and obviously to indulge, January is the perfect month for all of us to attend your seminars, your classes, your tastings, and it's over 3 days. So I really hope, obviously we can do it again in early 2021, and we cannot wait to see Raymond and Oakville Grocery and obviously JCB being part of it. So Ken, we have a few more minutes. Of course, Ken, do you want to show us anything? I know you've been seeing your location over there behind.
It's very simple. I think right here, you're going to see just a nicely seared piece of foie gras with a little apricot and white nectarine that I seared right in the foie fat on the plancha when I cooked the foie gras. And I've been waiting to taste it, but I'm sure it's going to be good.
Well, you know what I would taste it with as I finish my Chardonnay? I just want to tell you both about something critical, is the Deloche. The Pinot Noir Pinocchio. And Ken, maybe you want to describe, as we love in Burgundy, truffle. As you know, it's more the black truffle, but we love obviously the Northern Italian white truffle. Piemonte is right there. You love Pinot as well, with not only foie gras and truffle. Tell us why the marriage of a Pinot of that level from the Russian River this time would be great with what you just prepared.
Well, there's a bright acidity to Pinot Noir and structure to Pinot Noir, and there's a really amazing perfume. It's a lighter body varietal in particular. It's a very elegant wine.
Yep.
Pinot Noir, whether California, New Zealand, Oregon, or Burgundian, well, each has its own style. They are typically very, very elegant, delicious wines. They're super food-friendly wines. They're one of the varieties. They're a varietal that is very sensitive to where it is grown. So it's a great expression of place. Whether you've got the more earthy mushroom forest floor tones that you'll find in Burgundy, whether you've got the slightly riper, exuberant flavors that you find in a California Pinot Noir, which is just reflective of the beautiful sunshine that we have during the growing season.
Yes.
Pinot Noir is just a fantastically flexible food wine. It's my go-to wine, whether it's Burgundy or local.
That's what I love. And
Truffles, I with truffles, I particularly like the old world Pinot Noir because it tends to lend itself to more of the earthy, mushroomy notes that really connect with truffles in a way that really the only varietal that comes close to that kind of instinctive connection with truffles would be Nebbiolo, which you find in Bordeaux and Barbaresco. And like Pinot Noir, it's just so good with wild mushrooms, and it's the perfume, the delicate perfume of Pinot and Nebbiolo both just. It's hard not to want to drink them when they cook them with truffles.
thank you, Ken. And this is why I love Ken's talent and skill is not only foie gras, but as well the whole gamut of the mushrooms. So when you come to his unbelievable destination, you can enjoy a lot of those great mushroom dishes. Now, Ken, personal question. Now we have for both of you 3 or 4 more minutes. Sadly, I want to hear what inspires you the most and who, Ken? And then I'm going to ask another question. But for both of you, tell us, what is your inspiration? Because this is what we search for always, is that other degree that makes us do what we do.
Well, you know, I'm just really lucky. I get paid to do what I would do for free. I live to eat. I love to travel. Travel on my stomach. I love to explore. I love to eat foods I've never had before. I am an unstoppable traveling food eating machine. I love to eat, and I love to cook for people. And that's what in the last 10 weeks we have missed so much was, cooking is great, and cooking for yourself is great, but cooking and sharing it with other people. It's like drinking wine by yourself is not nearly as much fun as sharing that bottle with 4 people. It's okay, but it's not the same. And what inspires me is just the ability to think about, what do I want to eat today? What do I want to drink today? What's in season? What's exciting? What do I feel like? And to have the freedom to pretty much do anything I want.
Well, which is amazing with you as well as your beautiful wife, who is an amazing flower arrangement to an artiste as well. What I specifically adore, in addition to the taste and the texture, is you really tantalize all the senses because the presentation is as well phenomenal. And I think that's what really brings a great chef out and Michelin recognized, hence you are awarded with Michelin stars, is the fact that the visual presentation is great. Do you paint too? Do you draw? Do you?
I have, and I was a very good art student. And one of the 2 aunts that raised my dad was actually a very good artist, and his great-grandfather was an artist. We have lots of family art. I've always been artistically inclined, and for me, I guess it's just really lucky that cooking is a great opportunity to combine art and science, which
That's right.
are 2 things that I really love. Because if you just do one or you just do the other, it's not as effective as if you can blend some art and some science. You can put the sum of 1 + 1 is greater than 2.
I totally agree with you. I'm with you so much. So science, art. Robert, what is your inspiration? Before we go to both of your last question, which will be sharing a little secret maybe that you've never really that much shared, Robert, tell us what and who inspires you, because you have so many brains in one, and when your people start to check your biography, people are going to be amazed by all your various talents.
Well, I think I'm like Ken. I'm also really, really fortunate to be doing something that I absolutely love, and to me, I think travel really inspires me.
Yeah.
I think of myself as as being recharged whenever I travel and go and experience a new place, or even place that I've been to many times. Every time I go, I experience the culture, I experience the food, I experience the language, I experience the people, all in different ways. And I come back and I feel recharged. I have more ways of looking at the world, more ways of understanding people and culture. And like Ken mentioned, I live for food. When I travel, I go eat the local cuisine. I never go and eat at fast food places when I travel. I always seek out the local hole-in-the-wall places where you can find only locals and no tourists.
I love it.
And I really enjoy the whole gamut. For example, going to New York City, going to my good friend Gabriel Coitas Michelin star restaurants, all the way to the hawkers in Singapore, where you're sitting there sweating.
A lot of amazing place. Yeah.
Or going to the night market. So I really appreciate the whole gamut of food.
So for you, it's food and chef, obviously, that really inspires you. And which is great is you've made it a business as well, and a successful one. So dear friends, as I ask you the last question, I want to toast to one of my favorite wine, which is the famous Salon Privé, which is normally only served within the Red Room, but we cannot necessarily be there yet. So this is one of my Napa Valley secret. And you're going to have to be with me to know exactly what is the blend. But this is one of my most iconic wine. We only make 50 cases of it. You both have it, so you don't have to try it now. You could save it. But as we have literally a minute left, I want to ask both of you, what would be a secret you yet haven't shared that you wish? It could be an inspirational secret. It could be a real secret. It could be a secret you wish to aspire to do. So,
well, I don't think it's much of a secret. I wish I was riding on the rocket that went into space today. That's an inspirational, amazing thing. But
really as well, being an astronaut going to space.
So exciting. But people assume that as a famous chef that every bite I eat is the most magical food in the world. Honestly, when I'm not working, people are intimidated to have Sherelle and I over to their house to eat. When I'm not working,
I'm certainly intimidated.
When I'm not working, I just want to eat regular food like everybody else. It doesn't mean I'm going to go eat McDonald's, but when I'm not working, just a regular guy, and I'm happy to eat at your house the way you eat.
Love it. Well, thank you, Ken. So I know you came to our house several times, and Gina was always, worried a little bit about what she was preparing. So now we got to feel a little more at ease.
When I'm not working, it's all good.
Well, let's do dinner very soon. What about you, Robert? I think the not so well kept secret for me is that I'm a closet chef. I love to cook, and I love to cook for my family. I love to cook for friends, and probably the inspirational secret is that I would love one day to be able to cook and learn in Ken's kitchen. Oh, well, I'm sure he can make that happen. Well, dear friends, I'm going to share mine. Mine was what happened today, and I posted about, obviously, the first commercial or the first non-government sponsored trip to, in many ways, space. And I was born in 1969. One of the things I never talked about is my aspiration to go into the sky, into space. So I would have loved when I was younger to become an astronaut. It did not happen, but I'm looking forward to going back to training. Maybe one day we'll go to space, have amazing foie gras, Ken, great wines, incredible truffle, Robert. And I need to tell all of you, Robert came to the house during the Truffle Festival.
the day after all the escalation of senses. And he brought some great truffles. We cooked some great pasta. Simple, as you said, Ken, cream, butter, pasta, and truffle. Didn't we have a good time, Robert?
Oh, having a good time there was an understatement.
And Ken, Gina is telling you, Ken is outstanding. So fortunate. His family is a big part of the soul of Napa Valley. My love, I love what you just wrote. Ken, if you and your wife, as well as Robert, can come for dinner soon at our house, we'll humbly prepare. And I say we, it's easy. I'm putting the pressure on Gina because I'm worthless in the kitchen. I'll bring the wines.
Perfect. That will be
So
great.
we have a date.
Okay.
Thank
Dear
you.
friends, thank you so much
Thank you. Cheers.
for being with us today. And more importantly, many friends will watch this video in the next few days and few weeks and be enjoying your talents. Ken Frank, La Toque opening next week. So we will be there. And Robert, the American Truffle Company. Dear friends, thank you.
Cheers.
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 To
Thank
food.
you much.